hit the record button and let's get started. Ready.
Everyone, welcome to our March TMAC meeting. Let's begin with introductions. I'm Joy McMurray, TMAC Chair.
Bowden Goling, Development Services, Parking.
Stan Bruscio, Development Services, Parking and Mobility.
Jeff McLaughlin, a member of TMAC.
Okay, Hans Schuer, Provo City Engineering.
Aaron Kiesler, Provo City Engineering.
Noah Gordon, TMAC member.
Judy Johnson, Provo City Engineering.
Joseph Gandy, Provo Public Works.
Jensen, TMAC member.
Beth Province, TMAC member.
Greg Lefron, TMAC member.
Thank you. Our first action item today is approving our minutes from February. Anyone like to motion for that?
I have reviewed and approved to move the minutes from February. Move to, did I say that right?
No, he wants to move them. Can we move them?
Move to approve.
Sure.
I will second. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, we will turn the time over to Kehan for some annual training with TMAC.
Okay, let's see here. So this is going to be a long training. I hope it will be fun, which I doubt it, but.
We're not beginning.
Yeah, why am I here?
Okay.
Okay.
So there will be a lot of information here. I'm not going to read through slide by slide, so feel free to read it on your own. We are going to post the slides as well. If you need the slides, let us know. We'll send it to you. But mainly, basically, so TMAC is appointed by the mayor with the consent by council. There's 7 members. 2 of those 7 members are at large or alternate. 1 member has to be from each municipal council district. And then at least 1 member has to be from planning commission background, 1 from college level transportation academia, or business or community related organization, 1 member. And then so there will a member of the municipal council shall be appointed to act as the liaison with the TMAC, but this member cannot be considered a member. So it's only the liaison can be appointed as a liaison, but cannot be a member of the TMAC. Same goes to a member within the engineering division, police department, some other departments such as our parking team, but they're only going to be the liaison. They cannot be a member of the TMAC.
I want to ask a very quick question.
Yes, sir.
I'm not going to ask very many because apparently this is going to be a long training.
Yep. You're right.
Is this text from the city code on the issue?
Yep. So I will, once we're done with the slides, I'll share a couple of URLs, and I have them opened up, that are basically our municipal code covering everything here. So.
Who is our official liaison from city engineering?
I don't know if we have.
From city engineering?
So
We have many, clearly.
Gordon would be the official person,
Okay.
and right now he's serving as Public Works Director. He's a little.
That was informational, not critical. We are grateful for Gordon and all that he does.
hey, TMAC is not an elected body. It's not a final policymaker, and it does not represent a constituency. So, powers and duties, again, I do have this pulled up from our municipal code, but those are a couple codes that you could look. And all it basically says that shall be organized and operate as described in that section, and then shall constitute recommendations to the mayor, to the municipal council, to the planning commission, to other bodies, such as, let's see, it also have the power to review, ratify, modify, or disregard recommendations submitted by the TMAC. So the mayor and planning commission, they have the full right of either taking the advice or completely disregarding it. So some more powers and duties. So basically, recommendation is the #1 power there. Recommend the adoption and alteration of all rules, regulation, and ordinances which it shall deem in the public interest and for the purpose of carrying out the objects of the Provo City Code as it relates to transportation and mobility. So determine and establish rules and regulations for the conduct of the board as the member shall deem advisable, provided, however, that such rules and regulations shall not be in conflict with this chapter, the chapter that we previously saw, or its successor, or other city, state, or federal law. So monitoring the status of and make recommendations of amendments to the city's visioning documents, that's general plan, transportation master plan, our local streets, arterial streets, and then basically other document that impacts transportation and mobility within the city. So reviewing regional, citywide, significant local transportation and mobility issues as they relate to and are affected by land use policy, balancing the interests and needs of people walking, biking, riding, transit, and basically all modes of traffic. So again, providing recommendations to the mayor, to the municipal council, planning commission, and other city commissions and boards regarding the priority, funding, and design of capital improvement projects that relate to transportation and mobility. Serve as a coordination body and resource for organizations interested in transportation and mobility issues affecting the city. Promote public education of transportation and mobility issues affecting the city and its residents. And I know that I'm flying through this, but like I said, we have about 30 slides, so. TMAC members are subject to the Municipal Officers and Employees Ethics Act. I do have this act pulled up, so once we're done with the slides, I can share that as well. All right, so prohibited actions, things that we should not get involved in. So can't disclose confidential information acquired by reason of official position or use that information to secure special privileges. It cannot use or attempt to use official position to secure special privileges, and cannot knowingly take, seek, or solicit any gift or loan if it tends to influence the discharge of official duties. And what are some exceptions to the conflict of interest? An occasional non-pecuniary gift having a value of less than 50, an award publicly presented, any bona fide loan made in the ordinance course of business, political campaign contribution actually used in a political campaign. So conflicts requiring disclosure. Where the conflict is not prohibited, you must disclose the conflict. Let's see, why is this? There we go. So that kind of goes over all the conflicts. You got to disclose. So the ones that are in the red needs to be disclosed, and then the prohibited ones obviously needs to be disclosed. The ones that are not, the disclosure that are not required, you're fine, but pretty much for everything and anything, you need to disclose it. Specifically, if you're prohibited to do that, then you got to disclose that for sure. Conflicts requiring disclosure. So these are the things that you need to disclose. Any personal benefit, special privilege, or compensation received for assisting any person or business in transactions involving Provo City, being an officer, director, agent, employer, or owner of a substantial interest, at least 10% of a business entity regulated by the city. Being an officer, director, agent, employer, or owner of a substantial interest, at least 10% of a business doing business with Provo City. Having a personal interest or investment which creates a conflict between public duties and that personal interest. So now, open meetings. So what applies to TMAC? So basically, meetings cannot be started up until we have a quorum. So it includes a workshop or an executive session, whether the meeting is held in person or by means of electronic communication for the purpose of discussing, receiving comments from the public about or acting upon a matter of which the public body has jurisdiction or advisory power. More on the open meeting. So annual training is required.
No.
Yes.
Is it quorum 4 or 5? Is
Yeah.
it quorum 4 because there's 7 members, or is it 5 because there's 2 alternates?
So, well, 4. 4 has to be present at all times, yes. So written and recorded minutes required. Must post schedule of annual meetings. Proper notice. TMAC meetings are open to public, but not a public hearing. Public can comment, but it's not required. The comments are not required. So grammar. Basically, the things that we record are, or the things that are grammar eligible are documents, emails, voicemail. TMAC is also grammar eligible, or it can be, the grammar can be requested on TMAC. That also includes TMAC members. So.
But not texting.
I did not see texting there.
All business will not be done by
I'm just making sure.
That's not yet an official.
Finding the loophole, thank you.
What about the recordings of the meetings? Are they fully under grandma or just
The entire recording is, yep. It's specific to the meeting. Once the meeting is over, if it's discussion, things like that, obviously that's not recorded for now. So ex-party communications, so public discussion should happen in public. Due process, it protects the integrity of the process and then relieves undue pressure on TMAC members. So parliamentary procedures, consider one thing at a time, ensure justice, courtesy, and equal treatment to all members, serve the will of the majority, and preserve the right of the minority to be heard. Meetings. So meeting does not start until obviously the quorum is present. Chair runs the meeting. City loosely follows. I don't have any rules, so don't worry about that.
Because Rob Hunter was our last guy.
That's right. Yep.
Robert's Rules of Order.
It was Robert.
Rob has a lot of rules. I don't. So TMAC may adopt.
You know that there's actually a book called Robert's Rules.
Is there? Okay.
Yeah, it wasn't a joke.
Probably wasn't.
Yeah, it wasn't about Rob.
Okay. Oh, I was gonna say poor Rob.
Well, I think what you've got now is the obligation to write a book.
It's actually a really huge book about parliamentary procedure and how to call for the vote and how to, the order of operations of our
Well,
To keep it
looks like you got me something to read. So I'll find out.
You don't need to read it.
I don't need to read it, Kat. That's
It
fine.
takes very smile for the day to
Very loosely.
Okay, TMAC may adopt reasonable rules, can change rules or procedure on majority vote. Chair calls meeting to order, time, date, members that are present, reads the first agenda item in the record, yep. Clarify the action to be taken, TMAC members declare any conflicts. Staff presentation, so other presentations appropriate, may allow public comment, but that's not required, obviously. Close the presentation, and if there was any public comment. TMAC discussions, that's basically ask for clarification, questions on off of staff or others, whatever was presented, basically, and then ask for a motion. So now on the main motion, I move that we recommend to whatever the motion is, that whatever it was regarding. So we always want to start with that, which I'm pretty sure we do every time. So keep doing what we're doing. It requires a second. We do that all the time, so make sure we're doing that. So if there's no second, that motion dies, meaning we cannot move forward with that motion. Chair restates the motion, so it has been moved and second that we recommend to whatever that motion is, that and whatever the topic or this discussion was. Then chair opens the debate, so motion maker goes first and last. Discussion should be orderly and fair. Each member is invited to speak. The general rule is that each member gets to speak twice, but not until everyone had a chance to speak. Chair calls the question and then vote on the main motion.
And that's only if there's discussion. That's not like you don't have to.
Discussing the minutes.
Yeah.
No, that's only if
I mean, the
somebody has
minutes are really
something
the
to say
only
about it.
things we ever motion and vote to approve. for the most
Unless we
part.
have an action item, yeah.
Yeah.
Letter to the
Yeah.
council.
Not every meeting.
So now on to the secondary motion, if there's a secondary motion. So help dispose of the main motion. Again, the amendment or substitute motion, refer back to the staff or continue this discussion and then limit the debate. Can be made during debate on main motion, deal with them in the order. So you want to start with the main motion, completely get done with that, then move on to the second motion. Main motion, again, whatever that sentence is, we start with that, just our typical procedure. Primary amendment, so I move to amend the motion by adding the word qualified before approval. Motion to continue. I move that we continue this item to our next regularly scheduled meeting, so just a pretty typical procedure there. And then fairness. So basically, if a disinterested person observing the process believe that people were treated fairly and according to law. So that's kind of the whole goal. If a person that's disinterested, and if that person believes whatever they heard and the process that they saw was everybody treated fairly and according to the law. That's the fairness. And that's it. So let me, before you guys get into questions, I'm going to share a couple of the URLs that I had here. All right, so there's our code on the powers and duties, and pretty much most of everything that we discussed, you can find it here. Goes over our 7 members, 2 of them should be alternate, 1 from the background that I shared with you guys, who forms TMAC, what their duties are, and how basically they should be moving on with their meetings, tasks, things of that nature. So by all means, feel free to look at this code. I can share the URL if needed. Go ahead.
So getting back to my question earlier, if this was exactly the text I see it is, I'm curious why it says that a member shall be a representative of Transportation Academia or a representative of whatever, when it also says that we don't have constituencies and we don't actually represent any of, like,
I guess.
what's the role? Yeah, and you didn't write this ordinance.
No,
I just think
and I don't know the
wording is
exact
bad.
reasoning behind it. The only, what I can think is the fact that we talk about transportation-related items, it's important to have a member from planning. Planning deals with transportation-related items at all. It's important to have somebody within the academia related to transportation background to help with the communication and give the advice or recommendations that will benefit the transportation in general.
I mean, I understand the point of everything.
Yep.
I disagree with saying a representative of this thing when we're specifically not told to represent anything, right? We don't.
I think it's more asking for expertise and.
Yeah, and I think that that's what's intended.
Because otherwise,
I thought the wording.
why do we have somebody representing each neighborhood? That's the constituency. I think it's that none of us have been elected. Every one of us is appointed to this position and whatever other things we represent. And so it just wants that diverse insight, I think.
Makes sense.
I think it's important to note, we're not accountable to voters who elected us.
Right.
We are accountable to serve the city as a whole.
Yeah.
Yes, and I very much appreciate that.
Which is why say that you're the representative from BYU.
Mm-hmm. Well, I don't represent BYU.
You also.
Be very clear about that.
No, that's what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying. You represent
That's right.
academia. You
I represent my
understand.
own expertise.
You understand the principles of what affects BYU, but you also understand the principles of what affects your neighborhood in Provo, and you live in Provo. So like, I feel like it's not really a problem.
And even the members from specific to each district as a whole, I mean, you're representing the whole Provo.
Yeah.
So, yeah. And then the other document that I wanted to share was the Municipal Officers Employees Ethics Act. So again, this will be posted as well. If you need a copy of this, let me know. I can forward this to you as well.
We're not influential enough to get bribed. We have no actual decision-making authority, so therefore we will not be bribed.
I don't foresee any
conflict.
We'd be passed over at the college. It's like, no, thanks.
There was a day when I went on Bike Walk Provo's tour downtown, and they wanted to buy me a little kolache after. It's like, I don't think I can accept that. They're like, it's under $50, you're okay. And I was like, all right. So there are times occasionally.
It's hard to make the argument that kolache influenced your decision.
Yeah.
It did not.
Okay, any questions? Yep. Exactly.
So I'm grateful that we have this time, because it's good to know. We want to keep everything above board and within regulation. We don't want any scandals on TMAC. So I'm grateful that we have our annual training to help us be aware. That is excellent.
I feel like now's a really good time for me to say that once 3 of us ran into each other in the produce section at Smith's. But it wasn't yours.
Only 3? Okay. Okay.
And we deliberately said there's only 3 of us.
I feel much better now that that's out in the open.
And I was glad that you knew that and that we were aware of it and we stated it. It was good.
And if it's 3 of you, 1 of us, still it's minority.
I want to point out something that was mentioned last year that I thought was really good advice. If you're ever communicating amongst TMAC members by email, and, you know, just in case more people are getting added to the thread, copy in somebody at Provo City, like Vernon Cahan, so that the record is there on the city servers, and can be accessible to the grammar request. That's the only place I see that it really is. We need to be a little careful. Make sure the city's involved in those email threads.
Or just don't be friends with each other.
Or
Or
don't
just,
talk.
or just meet secretly in the produce section.
One
I like that.
recommendation I have, well, that I would like to
You
discuss,
don't.
it's not on the agenda for today, but I would like to say in the future, I think we should discuss, I actually looked up the code regarding TMAC, after our last meeting, because I thought, how long have I been serving as chair, and when does someone else get a turn? So I looked at the code, and there is no, like in the city council, it's stated every year they vote on the chair. We have no such procedure in place, so I think TMAC should discuss that at some point, so that we're not sort of perpetually,
You're good till next June.
so that we have a plan and everyone knows when the vote is happening and we don't have unintended dynasties.
Do we have bylaws?
So, the,
I've never seen any such thing.
We can put those in bylaws if you have them, so let's do a little investigation.
Because we just went through last year and amended the planning commission bylaws because of things like that were unclear, and it's a really easy procedure for us to just, like, Vern and you go through and notice if there's anything that's glaring that you would like to just modify, and then in a meeting, we could review it, and the next meeting, we could vote on it, right?
Since the committee was originally, staffed by Development Services, let me contact them and see if they have any bylaws there. And, I'll look in our records here, as well, under our TMAC folder, and see if there's anything there. And then I think that's a great idea. Clancy was like 4 years, right, as chair, and Mitsu was like 4 years as chair. It just seemed that way. Maybe it's only 3 years or something, but.
It was a long time, and the vote happened when Clancy decided we were going to have the vote. And so, and TMAC has been a less formal committee, generally, again, because we don't have any real decision-making power, but I would like to maybe get that.
Let's look at those.
Yeah.
Okay.
When you do
I'll
it,
find them.
you might also want to pay attention to the language that talks about whether you can reelect the same person or whether there has to be a gap in between, because that was a hole that we made for ourselves with planning commission accidentally, so. Like, it says it has to be every year that somebody's reelected, and it says it can't be the same person. So if you have somebody that you like that is doing a good job, you can't have them continue. So you can just consider that if it matters.
Sounds like city.
it says here that the mayor, with the help with municipal council, they can designate 3 members to serve 1 year, 3 members to serve 2 years, and then 3 years. Yep,
And
that's the
when we
initial
first-
appointment, yep.
Right, and that's when we first started.
Right, and then after that, it says that after the initial appointment, then members shall be limited to no more than 2 consecutive 3 terms.
Which is great. It just says nothing about the chair.
Right.
Yeah.
And you guys can have bylaws, and you probably do some.
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we should change that, so Joy is your president.
I also,
Term as president.
I'm also curious how some of these, like, I don't want to be on this commission forever, but there are really only 3 people at BYU who I would consider transportation academicians. So, like, the number of people who can serve on TMAC in that role is a countable number.
We had a UVU professor
A
for
UVU,
4
okay,
years,
all right, good.
so there are other options.
Yep.
That's a good point.
But there aren't
Great.
there are
There's
2 of them.
If you do the math, and there's 3 of those appointments
Sure.
plus the 5 districts, that's 8. So can he represent a district and academia at the same time, or does it have to be?
I'm not
Individual.
sure. I don't
We could
know,
have an
honestly. I
at-large
think-
member, presumably.
At large, yeah. I was gonna say, yeah.
But, I mean,
Or
then
a
you,
district.
I'm just saying, if you did, then you would have 8 people just filling the mandatory spots without the alternate.
Right, we probably can't, and unless it says we're limited, I don't know.
Yeah, so just keep that in mind, that might get you stuck at some point on numbers.
Thank you.
Is it over there? Yeah.
Is that everything then, Kayhan?
That's it.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, yeah.
The next item, got Vern working very hard today. Next month, we'll be, focusing on our discussion of what's the official title, the 820 North Bridge project.
The Provo River Bridge and Trail project will be likely a discussion in April.
In April, probably next month, and in preparation for that, as well as, east-west connectivity in Provo was our top agenda item from last year that we did not get to, and it was again mentioned last month when we were again discussing priorities for this year. So as a starting point for that discussion, Vern is bravely taking on reminding us of our current situation with east-west connectivity in Provo, and will give us a presentation on that.
So this will be a little bit of a discussion from Google Earth. And what I wanted to talk about are about three things when it comes to east-west connectivity. First, I want to talk about what the city has done, what the city has currently in its plan, and what I think that we should consider in a future plan. So let's start off with Foothill. We'll go from north to south just to make it easy. This connection here, Foothill Drive, was completed in June of 2007. This has been on the master plan since the 1970s, and it took us a long time. The property owner, this is still actually a little county, a little island in Utah County, surrounded by Provo City. I was here when we started that project 25 years plus ago. Anyway, I remember going to our planning commission meeting that night, and we were hearing this item. And the property owner and their attorney showed up with a stay from the local district court, so we could not hear it. And then he finally passed away at 99, and the county, or the city tried to condemn it, but it wasn't actually in the city, so it went all the way to the state Supreme Court, and we lost. And so the county went ahead and condemned it, and then we paid the fees to the county. And then we purchased the roadway. So this Foothill Drive was completed a year later. Dave told me that we did a beautification project of landscaping along that corridor. We got more praise for the beautification and landscaping than we did actually putting the road through. So anyway, that was an important east-west connectivity that was on the plans way back when and was finally completed. Let's go down to another one. Let's go down to 1860 South. In 1860 South, now it's called Lakeview Parkway. But this was an east-west connection that went from University Avenue and over to State Street. This was actually completed in July of 1998 at a whopping cost of only $13.5 million. You could even build one of those bridges right now for $13.5 million. Inflation is just phenomenal. Anyway, this road was here. See, I remember Dave and I went to the dedication of that. And a couple fire trucks. We had Congressman Cannon, who helped secure some of that funding, was here at the time. And that provided good east-west connectivity to southeast Provo. Another facility that we were all happy to receive is Lakeview Parkway. Now, in order to get the funding for this, I had to remove Lakeview Parkway from our transportation master plan for about a year. We removed it to satisfy the Federal Highway Administration. And then as soon as we got this built, we placed it back on the transportation master plan. This was an EIS that was completed. I was actually formed the team. At that time, I'd left Provo City and became a consultant where we did the EIS for this study. This study was just like any other EIS. It was full of wetlands and other impacts, but largely through vacant land. When you think about wetlands, you think, oh, geez, wetlands. I mean, why can't we go through a few wetlands, right? But we have so few of them in Utah. And when you go to somewhere like Louisiana, for instance, there's wetlands all over the place, right? So we really need to protect what we have. And I think we came to a pretty good agreement with the Federal Highway Administration. This did receive a record of decision and approval from FHWA. This had no funding to it. Then for some strange reason, I think it was Senator Orrin Hatch that did this. It made President Obama's top 10 list for road projects in all of the United States. Therefore, it got to fund it.
Thanks, Obama.
Yeah. So, and this kind of served as a really good, line between what we would think is regular development versus urban development on the north side. So that was completed in October of 2016 is when that road opened. So the city has done some things, right? We have it on plans. We had a recent roadway that we tried to connect that was from 1970, and we couldn't connect it. We didn't connect it.
Which was that?
That was 1550 up in Grandview neighborhood, and it's supposed to connect to Worm City.
Right.
So it'd be right
Drives up
here.
through there.
And, you know, Outcry won that battle, but people thought we were just planning to connect that road just recently. Well, we owned this half since 1970, and we owned the other half when this subdivision started to come in. So we've owned that facility for many, many years. It wasn't one of those things that just got the Ormites, right? So
If you
anyway,
own it, why can't you build through if it makes sense for connectivity?
it made sense for connectivity. The neighborhood and politics got in the way of this connection, okay? So that didn't happen, and that just happened this last 6 months ago where connectivity didn't occur. So we've adhered to all our transportation master plans. Other east-west projects that I wanted to talk about that are in the plans now, get down to 200 North. 200 North, right here. So this connection is in the transportation master plan, and we'll go back up to 500 North. It goes all the way from 9th East, and it would connect all the way over to Independence Avenue. So this is a really nice corridor that would be an east-west corridor for connectivity, and it's nice and quiet. It'd be great for active transportation and for people, the neighborhoods that know this area.
200 North has Peaks Elementary, the Bicycle Collective, Smith's, Convention Center.
Doesn't it also have a barricade on 500 West? Isn't that the pedestrian only or the bike only crossing at
500
200
West.
North?
No.
That's at 300.
500 West at 200 North.
It goes through.
It's an open intersection
Okay.
with left turns.
So this connection's been on our plan for years, and I occasionally will drive this cul-de-sac. I guess this house burned down last year. Anyway, I occasionally drive this cul-de-sac, and if I see the two houses for sale on the back lot, and I think one might have been,
Yeah, that one just sold.
that it's just sell,
Yeah, well, it was
for sale.
I'm understanding that it sold, and the one just north of it, she probably won't sell for any amount of time.
So, we do want to connect that someday. 500, let's go to 500 North. 500 North is another connection that we want to have from Independence Avenue in our transportation master plan to connect over to 9th East. The way we're going to get this one to connect to 9th East and 480 North is it will come in and connect once the colony, let me zoom in a little bit better for you.
Thank you.
Once the colony comes in for redevelopment, this will likely be an opportunity for us to then maintain some type of connection over to here. How this works is another story, but we do want to connect it.
Seems like you've got a lot of different property owners that you'd all need to, like, well, it seems like there'd have to be some condemnation at some point.
Yeah, hopefully there's some friendly condemnation there.
Four houses,
Friendly
right?
condemnation, said no one ever.
So it'd be 4 houses plus the laundromat or the dry cleaner or whatever, right?
Friendly meaning willing.
Yeah, I have a question about,
Everything we do is condemnation at the end of the day.
Right.
I always assumed that the reason there wasn't this through connectivity off of 9th East was to protect the neighborhoods from traffic that could conveniently go through. So that was not ever a plan.
It is in our transportation master plan.
Yeah, it's in our,
So this
connections is in there.
particular project is in stage 1 of the capital improvement projects from the transportation master plan from almost 5 years ago now. And it was approved and funded in theory. And, so that is, and as someone who lives in that area, I would say that's very, very important, especially now that the east-west route through BYU that used to exist no longer exists.
Right.
We have a huge chunk of Provo where there is no east-west route,
It funnels so much to 800 north.
which is not where you want it, because then you have conflict points with every pedestrian.
Yeah.
Yeah, so Fifth North, even going 3 blocks south will avoid a lot of conflict with pedestrians.
I think you're really right on. When we lost,
That was hard.
Cougar, what was it called?
North Campus Drive.
North Campus Drive. When we lost North Campus Drive, we lost east-west connectivity to 9th East. And, that did, as Jeff and others stated, that did funnel traffic down to 8th North. And I travel 8th North a lot just for work.
You also lost the road that went through south of Deseret Towers. There were 2 roads
Yeah.
through campus. Both of them are gone.
And during my time at BYU, this used to be an open road as well. You could use this road, it's no longer open either.
Nope.
So BYU has built more buildings, have used their land wisely, is what we see a lot of universities do. They push parking to the periphery, and they continue to build and build and build. Nothing wrong with that, but it does have an impact on our traffic patterns, especially in this particular case, east-west connectivity. So those are some of the roads that we have in our current plan to connect.
Just one more comment. Another good thing about this 500 North route is it leads directly to important destinations like the rec center and the library and grocery stores that are places that lots of people want to get to coming from the east. So I think it's very
And there's no
necessary.
stop signs east-west. Which
Well,
is
there's-
nice.
Well,
Sort of. Nice for some people.
There are a couple
something,
intersections.
yeah.
Yeah, signals.
And there are
But
some
the more signaled ones is I'm saying no stop signs, so it makes.
Well,
it
there's
safe
probably
for pedestrians.
need a
Yeah.
signal at 500 when you did this.
Something that has impacted north-south mobility has been BRT, right? 700 North, you used to be able to go down any street here and cross over. And then Third South has limited north-south mobility as well when we take a look at it. So the other topic that I wanted to talk about is, well, where do we want to go from here when we start talking about connectivity in the future plans? And for me, it makes a lot of sense to consider connecting 9th South. 9th South over here is the shortest distance of the massive rail yard that we have in Provo. And this could connect southeast Provo again with East Bay area and come over all the way over to the extension of Geneva Road, which is actually 1600 and or 2050. Let me zoom out a little bit. It actually come over to about here, and it would tie in with the extension and then connect into Lakeview Parkway. So another option of east-west connectivity.
Is that even a possibility, or is that?
It's an extensive bridge, but it is a possibility. One of the things that we've kind of restarted when I came back to Provo is renegotiation with the railroad for their franchise agreement. When I left, I was involved in that.
What does that mean?
It means in 1909, Provo City did a 100-year franchise agreement with the railroad to do certain things. They subsequently broke that franchise agreement in 1986 with some things that they've done.
The railroad.
The railroad broke it?
The railroad did. And we have been at odds ever since. And so we started that with one of our city attorneys, Gary's last name.
Gary Gregerson.
Gary Gregerson. And then it went to Robert West.
And then,
Ryan.
yeah, but there was one,
Same way.
We've gone through a few city
Yeah.
attorneys, and so now that I'm back, we've looked into a consultant assistance on negotiating a new franchise agreement with the railroad. This agreement's gonna be much shorter, 20 to 25 years. 20 years goes like that, right? That's how long I've been gone here. So 20 years goes pretty quick. So we're looking at 20 to 25 years to renegotiate that contract. In that contract, one of the things we wanna do is negotiate with them that they will allow for us to allow that connection over here to 9th South.
Oh my gosh, that'd be.
So that's gonna be an expensive structure. It's fairly lengthy, but it's something that grant funding could be available. It would have to be paid either with grant funding from FHWA, like a Connecting Communities grant, getting rid of barriers like I-15, getting rid of barriers to I-15, not getting rid of I-15. Getting rid of barriers of the rail yard and other things, and making that connection. And then maybe some state funds would be also beneficial, but right now, what we're seeing with some inflation on some of our current projects, we've bidded out a couple projects and we're not even gonna be able to do them. Bids are coming in so high.
I heard that UDOT has approved an intersection at 900 South and State Street.
It's approved and.
A signal.
So that is true. There will be a traffic signal. It's under design right now. I just had our kickoff meeting with UDOT 2 weeks ago.
Awesome. And I'm just wondering if you can tap into like redevelopment, funds, or, because if you connect that part, then suddenly that area west of the rail yard has some redevelopment potential, because it's not this inaccessible elbow of the city. It's now a throughway that people pass by instead of where you sweep everything
More
under the roof.
development.
We're gonna leave
next to the cemetery.
all and any funding, right, to do that. So I think in the next transportation master plan, what we'll want to do is explore this connection through some travel demand modeling and confirm that it will be a benefit. Just from the traffic and circulation perspective alone, should be a benefit. And of course, we'll want to have active transportation accommodated here over this structure as well. So those are some thoughts as we discuss east-west activities. Joy?
Question. The big barrier we didn't talk a lot about, of course, is the interstate that chops through Provo and contributes, and Beth could speak to west side feeling, maybe far away from the rest of us in some ways. But what options do we have for overcoming that massive barrier?
So one good thing about the I-15 rebuild, and I think Dave pointed this out earlier today when I was visiting with him, is Provo did get 1 to 2 wins out of this. One, we got the 5th South underpass, right? That was a big win to provide access underneath I-15 when it was rebuilt. We got additional lanes on I-15. We got a terrible intersection design here. I don't think anybody, even at UDOT, would argue with me about that.
No, they hate it.
Everybody
So-
in Provo avoids it because it's
No one
the
likes it.
busiest intersection on the state again.
So you heard about the lake crossing, right? The current plan has that lake crossing coming in here, either at Provo Center Street, at 1690 North, 1730, or somewhere in University Parkway in Orem, I think.
You're talking about a potential bridge across the lake, that's where they would
Yeah,
connect,
that's-
is 1690 north or west?
They haven't.
They've got a
Provo
few
Center
Either
Street,
potential.
This is the first I've heard of it.
800 North, 1690, or University Parkway. They've also talked about doing like 800 North.
I think 800 North of Orem has been kind of in because it doesn't bisect the.
it just goes too far north. Yeah. So I think that someday there might be a connection over there, but here's the story with this one.
Which one is that?
This is 1690, 1730.
Yeah.
This would be great if we had an overpass or an underpass for east-west connectivity, connecting Geneva Road and the northwest side of Provo with basically the heart of Provo. So that's also something we'd want to model and consider.
So I think one challenge there is that the 1690 doesn't have the volume to support it, and when
The 1680?
it's 1730 at that point, right?
Oh, are you talking on
Yeah,
top of the hill or on the
yeah,
west side?
Yeah, it just doesn't have any capacity, like, I don't know, there are already people.
You'd have to go over the railroad. It'd be another big structure again that would go over both sets of railroad tracks and over I-15 at the same time.
So you'd probably have to eliminate Sand Hill Road, right?
Yeah.
Turn it from a turn to a straight.
Yeah, you would do something here for east-west connectivity that way. I don't think this is very likely. It's on our plan,
Well, the Grandview Hill knocks it down anytime it comes up, so.
and you're absolutely correct. I think that 1730 would be a tough sell for these folks up here.
I mean, it's
Knocked it
already,
down multiple times.
I mean, it's already being used as like a minor arterial, and it's not designed for that because of Google Maps.
So it's on the transportation master plan currently as a proposed east-west connection. Whether it's very viable is another story.
Which roads, by way of review, do we have in Provo that you can actually get over or under the freeway? I know we've got 800 north,
Yeah,
You got 800 north.
we've got
Yeah,
2000
2000,
north,
800 north,
800.
Center
Center Street.
Street.
500 has an
500
active
west.
transportation.
629.
500 north.
The Provo River Trail.
The Provo River Trail.
500 north.
Provo River Trail is not
So for our-
considered a,
It's a park, it's not a transportation facility.
Oh, okay, sorry. It lets bikes through.
well, it's not, if you look at
So
like.
park your
school
car,
pickup,
get your bike
They
out.
will not
Yeah.
include Provo River Trail and school pickup.
And then we have,
Center.
about south of Center Street.
But yeah, we have 6
600.
south,
You have 3 south of Center and 2 north of Center.
and you have 920 to 1160 south. You have 500 west, which was a good win for Provo.
Lakeview.
And then we have Lakeview Parkway.
But a lot of those roads are not, they're not big roads, they're not developed roads. I
They're
mean,
not huge.
so you look at 820 alone, and that is at capacity all the time. It's stop and go traffic anytime there's a train that comes through.
Well, yeah, that's not an issue of road capacity. That's
Well,
an
but-
issue of Union Pacific.
Okay, I understand that,
I've
but then
lived
you
in-
still
I've
have
lived in that
schools there
neighborhood.
that are along that road.
It should be a
You
bridge.
have people who
Or
are
tunnel.
stopped at the Geneva Light all the time.
Well, I think the other challenge with the 800 north intersection is that it connects to Geneva Road there, but then like the connections to the other roads are not good, right? So you've got left-hand turns coming off of, what is that, 620 without an intersection. So people who come across at 620 north from the west need to turn left onto Geneva, which is moving pretty quickly, and they need to do it with a stop sign. So that causes
On a
frustration and delay on a curve, on an inside curve, right?
Yep.
And then they've got to go up and turn around. So it's not just the vehicle capacity 820 north. It's all the streets that feed into 820 north that cause additional frustration. And if 820 north would just connect through, then I don't think it would be as bad. I also think, yeah, you probably need to think about a tunnel or a bridge.
Well, the
for
thought
rail.
before has been instead of like 820, like have 820 curve down and connect to 620.
Sure.
So that,
Yeah.
that becomes a main, because
Just get
620
rid of
goes.
Freedom Academy and Independence High.
Well, Independence
You
High.
you wouldn't even need to get rid of either of those. You just get rid of that, just build a bridge over the railroad behind that storage unit thing.
Like
No.
620 to Independence, is that
No,
what we're
it's
talking
not.
about?
It's on.
That's been one of
Yeah,
the,
so
one of the
Independence
ideas.
know where the-
drops down.
Yeah,
So will you move it up just a little
so
bit?
you're talking about start the launch
Okay.
bridge from 620 north?
620 is there, go right
Go under
across,
the freeway
or over, under, and
and
then,
then up over the railroad
Yeah.
and connect in there.
Yeah, that's-
That would work.
That's one of the options. So just so everybody knows, Utah's Unified Transportation Plan as well as the MAG Regional Transportation
Have an
Plan does
interchange.
show an interchange here at 820 north.
that's
They're gonna have to
very
acquire a
good
lot of
question.
properties.
Yeah. It's a very expensive interchange because they will grade separate both sets of railroad tracks. There is some major property impact.
bridge.
You have to have
So
the
it's a,
train
it's
and
a
the.
very
A bridge for the
expensive,
road or.
very expensive interchange.
That property, I think, is currently owned by UDOT,
Yeah,
Yeah.
that property.
right?
They own all this
That
here.
whole
even still. The Independence roundabout is, less than 600 feet from the
Yeah, that'd be
Central
really
Railroad
You
track.
bring up another good point. Noah brought up another good point. Is this the only planned interchange in Provo? And the answer is yes to that, because FHWA limits spacing to 1 mile between interchanges. You can get a little bit of a waiver to go down maybe 0.8 of a mile, but you better have auxiliary lanes the entire length.
The other thing that we haven't talked about, because this isn't specifically a transportation thing, the main reason why we talk a lot about east-west connectivity is because there are no businesses west of I-15. And that's like a lot of the need to get across the freeway is not a transportation capacity or volume problem, it's a land use allocation problem.
Well, now you've got the airport out there, you've got all that commercial land out there now.
Sure.
You've got the regional park that's gonna go out there, you have so many storage facilities. You used to have McCord's, but I think McCord's is slowly getting pushed out. I mean, because of the upgrade to the airport, because of the regional park coming in, your businesses are gonna kind of start flocking out there, especially since hotels are gonna go out there if they're gonna do any type of big regional tournaments or anything.
Well,
Business is gonna explode out there as soon as things get put in.
well, that's a good thing, because maybe you'll get a grocery store.
Well,
Yeah,
there could have been a grocery store a long time ago if other things hadn't happened,
There's a
but,
lot of rooftops up here being constructed. Dave could speak more to that, but
well, you've got Rocky Shores, and then you've
Yeah.
got Orem, who's putting all of those townhomes in along Geneva Road.
Well, and I'm gonna respectfully disagree, Greg, and just, and I know you're the expert, but just in saying that, like, I can almost count on one hand the number of opportunities we have to get across the interstate in our, you know, it's almost really 5 options of how to get over that in a city of 100,000 people when all the growth is coming out west. And I would love to see, and there has been this sort of simmering east-west resentment for some time, and I think part of that is because we can't easily get to each other, and enjoy the opportunities on each side of the freeway.
Well, I think the point I was trying to get to is, I don't know why all of the grocery stores in Provo have to be within half a mile of each other in the middle of Provo.
It's disposable income. Provo City's, median income is so low compared to the other cities because of the college towns that the disposable income is not that high around here. That's why, that's one of the reasons why grocery store hasn't come out to West Provo, that they go down south to Springville or they go up north to Orem, because the disposable income in Provo is not that high.
And I think what plays a role is the density of the number of students south of campus. They want to capture that market, right? We've been trying for years to put a grocery store on the west side in various locations. We've been trying for years to get one down here off of State Street in southeast Provo.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's hard to tell a grocery store their business when they know their business well, and they have been making bank. Grocery stores usually, before the Great Recession, probably made 5 to 7% on their retail. They're upwards to 35% groceries now, profit, because there's such a high demand. So grocery stores, they're a business, and they know their business, and they know the cutoff principles, and it's hard to convince them otherwise. It's like, I'll give you one more example. This mall right here, this mall right here is a phenomenon in itself. Usually, they're supposed to have a certain amount of population. Look at this. Within, there's no population in this area. When this was built and the grand opening, they said literally, this is one of a kind situation because it didn't meet any of the statistics and the data for that type of commercial.
It's basically failed to be a mall.
Say that again.
But the Provo Town Center has kind of ceased to be a mall.
It's like the 49th Street Galleria now.
Yeah.
University Mall has reinvented itself a half dozen times over the years, right? So.
Yeah, you have the tell of 2 malls. One mall has renovated 3 or 4 times in the same time that the Provo Town Center has done almost nothing. But back to the
residential.
grocery store, the council, I think, feels the same way as everybody in this room. They appropriate, I think, $1 million incentive for any grocery store that goes on the west side. And so far, they've not been able to convince anybody to take that money and build one, so.
You also have the Smith's
We had 20 some odd years ago, Center Street and Geneva Road, Smith's had an approved site plan. They were getting ready to break ground on a grocery store right there. Some of the neighbors in the area weren't happy about it. They sued Smith's. What it ended up doing is delaying it enough that Smith's just said, well, we're not going to do that right now, and then it never happened. So the neighbors were upset about storm drain that was going in or something. I'm not sure of the detail, but it was the deal killer in the grocery store.
And thank you for that. I think that will be a good foundation for our conversation next month. So thank you for letting us review the current situation and possible future. It's interesting to hear the years. I was writing down the years that each of those things went in, and it's hard to get a road built. Yeah, Lisa.
I'm wondering, if maybe as part of your presentation, you can tell us what effect that TMAC can have on this.
Next month, you mean?
Yeah, or even like right now, so we can be prepared to talk about it next month. What are the things that TMAC can do that can expedite something like this, or that can suggest something new if everything's in a long-term plan that's been there for a long time? What are ways TMAC can even help?
Well, I was happy to hear that we're excited about the 5th North and the 2nd North connections to 9th East, at least a couple of you anyway. We do need to acquire property. You know, when I drove out there and saw that house for sale the other day, I looked at it and I was contemplating this, and, you know, right now, other property in corridor preservation was taking precedence. Just purchased another home on 820 North that was, you know, another $500,000. So when you buy property, it's expensive. And I think when we start to take a look at these connections, I think the TMAC making recommendations in support of these connections when the time comes will be very valuable and carry a lot of weight, in my opinion.
Especially as we also look at the new transportation master plan, projects get prioritized, you know, phase 1, phase 2, phase 3, and we have a lot of influence in that. Vern, would you like to do your engineering project updates? I would love to hear it if you'd like to, if you.
I'll just take a couple just to tell you. 820 North from University Avenue to 7th East, you should have seen some major improvements over the last couple of weeks on that for pedestrians and bicyclists. We signed the corridor as a bike ped corridor, the entire length, and then we put all new signage up and trimmed some trees and put flashing yellow lights on every single crosswalk, and put flashing red lights on every single stop sign. It is helping, but there's a lot of traffic on 800 North.
One more time, 820 North, and what was the?
From University Avenue to 7th East, just that road.
South edge of campus.
Okay.
Brick oven to slab pizza.
Okay.
To the pizza.
Pizza to pizza.
That'll be the name of the Strava segment.
We also,
The pizza corner.
speaking of pizza, we also put, what did I do here on this one? Let me see here. So speaking of pizza, there's a pizza place right here, and people park over here and they jaywalk all the time, right? And I got plenty of crosswalks around here, right? So we placed 2 signs up right here and one right in front of the pizza place with an arrow, white regulatory, so now I can ticket for jaywalking. And it says, use crosswalk. All they have to do is come over here and use the crosswalk. I'd rather see them use the crosswalk, walk a couple hundred feet out of the way, someone get hit mid-block. So just so you know, those signs are up too.
That's awesome.
That is the slab official
That's
parking.
slab.
That is their official.
That's where their parking lot is, so that makes it tricky.
Yeah, it does. 300 North, let's just go down to 300 North. You guys may be aware of this. 300 North and 1020 East. This was a three-way stop here.
Yes.
All-way stop, and we had a complaint last fall from a couple residents saying, hey, people blow through these stop signs, they're just not needed. So a little bit of history on this. This used to be a Catholic private school and then a Meridian school, and then it, eventually the land use changed to a double stake center or whatever, a church. So there's not as many pedestrians, not anywhere near as many pedestrians that used to go to that school. We did the study, and lo and behold, it did not warrant a three-way stop anymore. So we reached out to the neighborhood, went to the neighborhood district council, pretty well received, except for one lady who really likes the three-way stop during a state conference. And I said, well, that's just twice a year. So anyway, then we sent a letter to all the property owners along here, letting them know that we're considering removing the east-west stop signs. And I gave them a deadline date of the end of March. We did not get any complaints. I gave them the deadline date of March 1st, sorry. And then during the last couple of weeks, we've implemented that. We still have to remove crosswalk here, and we've added a red light here. And I think right now we have temporary yellow flashing lights on this, and we have advanced signs notifying everybody that a new traffic pattern is ahead. So I think this is one of these things where a neighborhood said, hey, we got an issue. We studied it, we looked at it, we went back to the neighborhood, reported on it, and implemented it. So that's, to me, that's a really good thing. Speed studies, we've done traffic studies on Carterville Road, 300 West, 2050 West, Cinnamon Ridge, 100 North, between 500 West and 900 West. And we presented on all these at neighborhood district meetings. So I'll show you one last thing, and we'll end with something that's kind of cool, if I can find it.
Close to the
Bottom.
close to the zoom at the bottom. Yeah, window, right? Oop,
Which
just that.
one?
Close to the zoom, second one. Yep, right there. Yep.
Okay, let's see if I can do this. Okay. So, as everybody knows, we've had some issues at 560 North crossing here, the Shell gas station on 9th East. We've done some things, temporary stuff. We've had people complain. It's dangerous crossing 9th East, right? And we got a lot of traffic signals where they could cross. And we're putting another one at 820 North, where there's another location for them to cross. But some students cross here, and we got to improve that. And so this is what it would look like.
Actually,
This is what it looks like now.
a lot of students cross
Yeah.
when we did the study.
This is what it could look like in the future. So this would be a right in, right out. And then we got a little bit of refuge island here. So let me go to what the view looked like. This is what it looks like today going northbound. This is what it could look like in the future.
That is way better.
So we got a raised island. We keep everybody right. We strict through movements here between these weird, too close 560 North interchanges or intersections.
And you're right that almost no one ever turns left there.
I have, I admit.
Yeah, I mean, I've probably done it too in the many years I've lived in Provo, but I would just
This
use
one's
that
the south view,
north.
and this is today's south view, and here's what it could look like. So you
Putting those
see,
islands will slow people
Much
down.
better.
we have the islands, we'll have flashing lights there. I will need to put them on a timer because I don't want everybody pushing them every 3 seconds, but we'll work something out.
It'll also help people look at one direction of traffic at a time.
Raised islands, right in, right out here, it would make for a much safer thing. This is about an $80,000 improvement, is our basic cost. If we get funding, I would really like to build that this summer and have it done before BYU starts in September.
When they push the button, does it flash all the way across or just to the center and they have to
All
push
the
it
way
again?
across, it flashes all of their, all three connected, yes.
Joaquin, I approve this message.
And
I don't know, you're just killing another east-west connectivity.
It
will tip my style a little bit, but I am willing to sacrifice for the good of the pedestrians who are crossing it. Let's keep working on that 500 North
Connectivity was not in our transportation master plan here, so that's not a
offset too.
Yeah, going east-west.
I don't know anybody
And
who
I
does
think
that.
because it's offset, forcing the right turn is
Not well,
fantastic.
coming down
Yeah.
there.
That will take care of that. It's
too.
a weird jog.
Solves two
Yeah.
problems. Solves
It
the
really
vehicle conflict
This is a good.
and
I
the
like the
pedestrian.
One-way sign here, and you have to make a right, and.
Okay, so if there's community outcry, oh, I can't get across the street in my car anymore, do you say tough, this is on the plan, or
So-
how does it work?
This is not on any plan other than mine right now. I haven't even showed it to anybody. I just got these today back. It was the final draft. The first draft, we went through and identified some things that need to be fixed on this visual. But, hey, I'm willing to have you guys make a motion, and you can do that in the next meeting if you like, or this meeting, and say, hey, we recommend that this get built. This would be awesome. Hey, we're making motions. This would be one of those things that
I
if
thought
we
we
get
said
funded,
make
I'd
a
love to
motion if
build.
it wasn't listed as an action item on the agenda.
We can put it
for
on
the next month, it could be.
Oh, I just thought you said we could do this meeting if you wanted
We
to.
should put this on the agenda.
So I know we are past our time. I'm gonna take like a minute, give you a little bit of background on this. So for past year and a half maybe, we have been getting emails, calls on this exact intersection from the students that are crossing, as well as the businesses and neighbors that live close
Even
by.
for the last 25 years.
Well, I'm sure, but since I actually have been kind of active with the city, and we have done a study here which validated our concern that there's a lot of foot traffic here. And we actually also placed a video camera to kind of monitor the driver behavior as well as the pedestrian behavior. So there was a lot of jaywalking and running along 9th East, which is a high speed, 5-lane traffic. So there's a lot of concern here that we had, and that kind of pushed it, that brought it to this level that we're seeing some progress here. So, I mean, when we get things like this, we do our due diligence, we look into it, and if we are able to validate via the study or via the traffic behavior that, yeah, there's a problem, we will add that as a project.
I'm curious, how much cross traffic is there actually? I mean, the only time you could actually get across and make a left, east, northbound, go across that would probably be at like 2 a.m. when there weren't cars coming through there anyway.
I live in that neighborhood and I
No,
could
this
never
is,
see that turn.
this is,
Hey, I
the
still have to-
typical 9th East left turn is using the center lane as a driving lane. Not even an acceleration lane, but fully, I'm just gonna drive here because it's easier than
It's like 300 feet in the lane.
No big
I
deal.
drove into it, I turn out of it. That's fine.
And a fact,
north or south, it happens that way.
a fun fact, that 9th East is our narrowest road. If it is, I think it's 9 feet. Is it 9 feet, Dave?
We don't tell people.
We don't tell that, okay.
The lane width is 9 feet.
Keep your mouth closed. Wait till the
Well,
meeting's over to
speed
talk
is still a
about
big
This
issue on that road.
will work as a
And that's why we
natural.
narrated it down.
Even the
Yeah.
traffic.
Yeah.
that.
It'll be good traffic.
So here's
Well
what it
done.
looks
Sorry.
like today. We will need to reach out to a couple businesses here. We will need to reach out to the neighborhood district, present this in front of them. It's a big enough change that I feel very comfortable going out to the neighborhood district and showing this is what it could be. We will get some opposition, just like we did up on Canyon, but we'll get more that are for it than will be against it.
Yeah, I believe so.
Are we gonna talk to a cartographer about the fact that those two streets definitely aren't on the same, north-south parallel?
When I was doing this study, I brought it up and I said, hey, what's the story with these? Well, they're 560. Don't want to be like 580? So anyway.
Good luck changing it.
Yeah, we ain't
Yeah.
changing it now, that's right.
Well, thank you for that excellent update. It's amazing to me that you can come to us with so many new projects every quarter that you've been working on. Thank you. All right, we will adjourn for today and see everyone next month.
Yep.
I like that you don't have to move to adjourn.
Yes, sir.
I'm increasing in my question.
Has anyone ever done any modeling?
I was riding my bike down 200 East the other day.